Welcome everyone to our 31st episode. This is a space where I want to empower you all to be relationship experts. I'm Kimia Shahsadi, founder of Love Story, a matchmaking company. So if you ever want help with finding love, the love of your life, please message me. Bit of background about me. I have a master's in clinical behavioral psychology. I specialize in relationships. I published psychology studies and journals on relationships. I've been happily married almost 5 years and helped over 100 people with their relationships. Welcoming my husband, who's here today, Armand, my brother, who's here today, Mr. Magic Man. Thank you so much for coming, Paulie. Always great to see you. Thank you so much for being here. Questions, comments, stories, they're always welcome. Having different people speak is always such a treat because we can all learn from each other and hear each other's perspectives and consider things that we don't usually consider. So today's topic is, am I falling in love too quickly? So I've heard this over and over again at different stages in people's relationships. For some, it comes up quickly. For some, it doesn't. It's just a whole range of things. And so this seems to be a common thing that comes up in relationships from time to time. So let's dive into it. So if you're ever in this situation, if you know someone who's in this situation and they come to you for advice, hopefully you can be a bit more informed to guide them on the right track, because everyone can give advice. It's super easy to give advice, but not everyone gives the best advice. So let's try and level up our advice giving for ourselves and for other people. So let's start with, instead of me answering this question from what I've learned, what I think the answer is, let's kind of tackle how we feel about this question in the room with just thumbs up, thumbs down. Let's kind of gauge where people are at. So I'm going to ask the crowd this question. So if someone gets married in 1 year of meeting someone, is that falling in love too quickly? Thumbs up or thumbs down? What are we thinking? Thumbs down. Thumbs down? Ooh, one thumbs up. Okay. Anyone else want to weigh in? A thumbs down. Okay. All right. What if we change it to, if someone gets married in 6 months from meeting each other, is that falling in love too quickly? Thumbs up, thumbs down? Thumbs down. All right. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs down. Okay. All right. What if we bring it down to 1 month? Let's say someone gets married in 1 month of meeting someone. Is that falling in love too quickly? Thumbs down. Thumbs down. Oh, wow. Thumbs up. Thumbs up. Okay, this is very interesting. I appreciate all your feedback, everyone. So, everyone, people can have really strong feelings about these questions, and can give very strong advice when it comes to this stuff. So let's unpack it. So, um, I sometimes go with this question down to 2 weeks and see what people say too. I actually know two couples that married within knowing each other for 2 weeks. At least two couples I know, and they're still married to this day for over about 30 years. And so yeah, I hear this, and I know, for example, my husband, like, it's just been in the last couple of years where he's kind of realized that people can fall in love quite quickly and have it work out. And so this is a mystery of like which ones work out and which ones
People are much different than me.
everyone's different to everyone.
It takes me personally a long time, but like heard so many stories of Kimia of people just like, I don't know, sniffing each other or something, and then they just like that's it. I don't know.
Oh, okay. No, well, there's obviously more to it. It's not just like sniffing each other, but I hear what you're saying. But yeah, so there's been a lot of stories where I knew like this is something that Armand, just he just never has seen it work or not really heard about it. So I just I shared with him more stories that related to this, so he would start believing it with evidence. But yeah, so people can even meet and get married in 2 weeks, and it can still work out. And obviously, there are people where they can do the same thing and have it not work out. So it's really important, the other elements of what goes on into it, not just time. So time is one factor. And usually a lot of the reasons for the argument that people want more time is because they think time is an indicator of behavior, and they just want a longer span of evidence to see what this person is like before making like such a huge life commitment, maybe your biggest decision of your life. I want to ask Armand, because he's such a good person to have up here, for this specific topic. For you, kind of, what was the main thing that in your mind you felt like you needed to know before you fell in love too quickly?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Yeah.
Like you're like what did the marriage decision hinge on?
What? You can answer that, or anything you think is helpful for like this kind of topic of, am I falling in love too quickly? Like for yourself, is that something that ever came up for you? Or like, how did you kind of tackle that one?
Um, I personally, I'm a slow mover. I'm glacial as far as movement goes. Like Kimia is much faster than me. There were definitely times in our relationship where I kind of felt pressured to do or say something that I don't think, ready to do. Um, so I don't know. There are a bunch of examples. Kimia has convinced me that people are different, and yeah, everyone needs something different. Um, so I don't know. Some people just know. I find it hard for me to see myself like that. Um, as far as what I needed to know before I married someone, like I was one of those people who always wanted to like collect a lot of evidence. I think even before I married Kimia, I think I still wanted to collect more evidence, but we had some long distance constraints. Um, what eventually did it for me was that I was this question where I was like, you know, I don't know what's going to go wrong, and I was just trying to like figure out, okay, if X goes wrong, are we going to find a way to fix it? What if I put my socks on the ground and she doesn't like that?
Oh no, you blanked out. I can't hear you anymore. Can anyone else hear him? Or is it just me?
Hello.
I can hear you now. I heard the hello.
Okay.
Okay.
Where did I cut out?
I heard socks on the ground, and then I started laughing, and then you cut out.
I see.
Okay.
So yeah, it was just I wanted to make sure that I had all the possible scenarios covered, because my parents got a divorce and that kind of sucked as a kid. So I was like, I don't want that to happen to my kid. I'm going to cover all the scenarios. But then it's kind of hard to cover all the scenarios. You can always think of like another scenario. What ended up doing it for me was, I don't know, I somehow came to the realization or the conclusion that whatever came up, that Kimio was a reasonable enough person and that we had enough systems in place that we could just work it out. That's it.
Nice. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing what was going through your head with all of this.
I don't even know if I answered the question.
I feel like you did. I feel like we have much more insight into what was going on for you during that time. So thank you for sharing. I appreciate it. Yeah, you touched on some important things that I was going to bring up. So that's good. Okay, let's jump into this stuff. Before I jump into this stuff, does anyone else want to kind of say anything about what Armand said or relates to this in any way that they want to bring up? Okay. At any point, if you do, feel free to just request to speak or just unmute if you're a speaker. Okay, so with this question, it's really, really important that you know what you want in a partner and you've done your due diligence at the beginning. That means asking all the hard questions, making sure you understand someone's like behaviors and characters in all the ways you need to know, and that you're both on the same page. So that's, if you've done all that, then it's quite easy to fall, in love quickly and for it to be normal and healthy and have it all work. If both people are, approaching it from that angle. Now, another way someone can approach the exact same topic is, if they're putting the other person on a pedestal for whatever reason, maybe it's the first person that has shown interest to talk to them, they're super attractive, smart, kind, I don't know, they have a fancy job or money or something. Maybe they don't know what they want. They fell into the relationship because of proximity, haven't done their due diligence for all the things they need to find out that are really important, having those hard conversations at the beginning. They're just avoiding all of these hard conversations. Those things, they don't want to rock the boat or scare the other person off with hard questions. Those are all terrible reasons to go ahead with falling in love with, they're probably falling in love too quickly because they don't know what they're doing. And they're just, got their fingers crossed, hoping for the best, and kind of shooting blind here. If you kind of go with the flow and you're kind of just approaching a relationship with like, let's see how this goes and let's just let time tell. Time can be a revealer for sure, but it can take much longer for you to figure this out. And so the longer it takes, it actually uses up your time, your energy, your feelings. Like there's just your financial resources, like so much goes into your time. A lot of things can go into it. And so, I have my fingers crossed for every single person that if you're choosing that path or you're just on that path, that it works out for you. But it's a much riskier path. So really knowing what you're looking for is so helpful. And if you ever want help with knowing what should you even think about, please message me and I can send you the list of things to think about. And so that's one element. So one is you know what you're doing, and one is you don't know what you're doing and kind of going with the flow. And naturally, there's also going to be differences between people. And Armand kind of highlighted that, for some people, their parents went through a divorce, like both of ours did. We both can take different things from that situation away from us and bring it into our relationship now.
But not through the same divorce. Two
But not
different divorces.
that would be bad. Different divorces for sure, but even for different reasons. And some people are more in the moment people, and some people like thinking about the future, and they're just oriented that way. Some people are more anxious, even some are more avoidant, even like some like say they wear their heart on their sleeve, like some say like they really take a long time to fall in love. There's so many different versions of natural differences that exist for all sorts of reasons from our history and past and just how we are, and all of those things are okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But we don't want to avoid these hard conversations or think there's something wrong with us. We're feeling a certain way. And we want to catch ourselves if we haven't kind of done the due diligence or thought about the things that we want to think about. So we can definitely dive in with the Reddit questions to kind of think of more real life scenarios where we can tackle this together, which will be a lot of fun. But yeah, just it's really important to know what you want so it's not all about them, because it's very easy when you're in love with someone that if someone, they can be in either direction. One can be like, I need way more time to fall in love. And then one can be like, I'm already in love, and if you're not feeling exactly the same way, you can feel pressured on either side. And it can be hard to navigate what you want because you're not sure and the other person knows what they want. So you kind of go with the flow with what the other person wants. And then you kind of never really figure out what you need to figure out. And a compromise needs to be made in all of this. So, what progression of timeline do you feel comfortable progressing in, and like what do you need to find out to feel like you can get closer to someone and like allow yourself to fall in love with someone. So all of these things, if you take a moment to think about them and write them down. If you're single, it's even better because you have an even better chance at being objective. And then it's totally okay to have a discussion about this and figure it out together and come to a decision that you guys can more easily agree on. That's definitely something Armand and I had to do. We were trying to like figure it out while we were so young, to do all this. In all transparency, like I fell in love with Armand 6 months into us kind of getting together, and it took a while for him. Like he proposed at 2.5 years in, so there was some differences there, and we definitely had to have these hard conversations. And on my end, just so you guys know, I felt, well, obviously, I'm teaching all this, so I had thought about this. I'd written everything I wanted down, and I did like so much of my due diligence at the beginning.
He had a
And so
score sheet.
I did have a score sheet. I'm not gonna lie. So I kind of knew what I was doing, and then just Armand was just like your average person in this area, not really thinking about this stuff, because why would someone do that? We don't get taught this
But my
stuff in
test
school.
scores were non-average.
Test scores, like in a good way or a bad way?
On your test,
You
on
mean
your
on
score sheet, my
your
scores were not bad.
your scores were amazing. So I knew I was all in. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm gonna find someone as amazing as this ever again. So I was like, dude, I gotta go all in. This is like a 10 out of 10 walking past me. Like I gotta, go all in. Might never find this again. So I knew on my end it was very clear. But it took a while for Armand to kind of figure out, all the things that he wanted, and, to feel safe enough with, the history and everything like that. And he said he moves glacially. So, that's just the natural difference that was at play as well. So, yeah, so if you ever feel like that, don't feel like you're alone or you're going through this by yourself. It's a very common feeling. But the ways to address it, there can be logical, systematic ways to address it that can help you move through it and not get stuck. I know someone I know who's been in a relationship for, I want to say like 8 months now. And, um, like this whole time I've been telling them to, find out if they're going to be in a exclusive relationship or not. And this person was avoiding it, having that conversation this whole time. And, they progressed in different ways. And just in the last week, they got the bravery to just stop beating around the bush. Like they tried to bring this up multiple times with their partner. And so they finally asked the exclusive question, like, are we exclusive? Can we be exclusive? Like, all of that. It seemed like, they were saying all the right things and doing the right things, but would never kind of talk about this topic in detail. But then I just heard that that person told them that they're not, they're not interested in something like that. And so it's over now. And so, you know, like as horrible as it is, it lasted 8 months, but it's just like it didn't have to last that long if this question was addressed much earlier on. So please don't be afraid of asking these questions if something is important to you, or like if you're thinking, oh, they're just magically going to come around the longer I wait. That's usually not the case. And if it is the case, they can tell you that. You can have the conversation and they can say, look, I'm going to think about it and get back to you. And, they'll be like, look, I need another month to think about it and then I can give you an answer, or whatever it is, and you guys can negotiate it. It's not just something that you have to forever wait for them to come around. That's not fair on you, and that's not a very kind thing to do to someone else. So I don't want you guys to go through any of that. That's why we're having these chats today, so we can hopefully just be with the person we want to be with as quickly as possible and help everyone around us also do the same. So let's jump into Reddit questions together. So 21-year-old male, 21-year-old female, title, falling in love too quick. So the bit of background on this one is, so I just got into a relationship with an amazing, beautiful girl. It's been going so well. I have so much fun with her. The only thing that I've been realizing about myself is that I think I've fallen in love too quickly. I keep thinking about stuff way in the future, like marriage and stuff. I honestly get worried about it sometimes, and it takes away from me acting like myself with her. I need advice. How do I stop myself from falling in love too quick? Because, like I said, I get sort of anxious, worried about our future. She's never been in a serious relationship before. Don't really want to overwhelm, smother her. What do we think? Polly, what do you think?
I missed the very first part of that.
Yeah.
I was responding to something real quick and I missed the first part. Could you
Mm.
just it was quick, so could you just repeat it real quick?
Yeah, of course, of course. So basically, this guy has fallen for this really amazing, beautiful girl. It's been, they've been having so much fun together. Um, he's realizing that, he's falling in love with her really quickly. He's thinking about the future, like marriage and stuff. He's getting honestly worried. And sometimes it takes away from acting like himself in the moment. He needs advice. Is he falling in love too quickly? And she's never been in a serious relationship before, so worried that it will overwhelm her or smother her.
Damn. Ooh, there's a lot to this. There's a lot
Mm-hmm.
to this actually, because um, in an overall sense, I would say, like as a man, if you wait too long, you very much can miss your window and end up in the friend zone. Because
Mm-hmm.
women look for a man who knows what he wants and is willing to go for it. But if she is someone who hasn't been in a serious relationship because she's maybe afraid of commitment or she has something else going on, it is possible that she could pull away. It's possible she already friend zoned him. There's
Mm-hmm.
dang, there is a lot of options here. It's really hard for me to actually nail down what he should do with so
Mm-hmm.
little input.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would say for him, he should just go for it. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if that's what he wants, he should go for it and not worry about if it's going to be too much for her. Because if it is, then they're not a match, right? So it's better to just find out than to tiptoe around it and just end up with a lot of confusion.
I love it, Polly. You came through at the end. Look at that. You did it. You did it. You were like, oh my gosh, this is a tough one, but you worked it out. You worked it out. That's great. Absolutely. And they're either both going to be super on the same page and so happy they talked about it, or they're not going to be on the same page. And there's two ways it could go. One is, they're on different pages and then they discuss it and they figure out a path forward where they can, negotiate and compromise to an agreement that they can move forward with. Or they are too different, they're not willing to compromise, there's not enough good things on either side for them to fight for it, and they let it go. And so even in that scenario where they let it go on both sides, that's a bunch of time and energy saved now because it didn't drag out any longer, and more new memories weren't formed that need to be ripped out and replaced, and to start fresh again. So even the worst case scenario is still better than prolonging something. Just like, think of my friend who went through like the 8 months of that to find out now like the answer that she was so scared to ask this whole time. So great job, I love it. Did anyone have any comments or questions about that one before we go to the next one? Okay. I got you guys. All right. Next one. How can I stop myself from falling in love too fast and too much and getting hurt again? So it's a 28-year-old female. So I fall for people really easily. Things go great at first, and we say we love each other fast, and things are awesome. Then things get real, and they realize I'm a real person with issues. So they are. We always start arguing until the guy can't take it anymore. I finally decide to start dating after 3 years of not, and about 2 years ago, and this pattern has happened twice. The only way I know how to get over a breakup at this point is to jump right back into dating, and now I never think I'm going to get too attached, but I always do. I need some advice on how to make sure the man I'm with right now for me, and how to notice red flags before I'm in too far. So how do they make sure that they're with the right person, and how do they notice the red flags before they're too far in? What do we think?
I think first and foremost, she needs to figure out her end of this and why she seems to develop this attachment so quickly to people. I wonder if she's actually trying to use relationships as a coping mechanism for something,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of maybe causing her to a bit overwhelming in the relationship. There's probably there. I would imagine there might be a clinginess involved here, which maybe could result in maybe her being a bit aggressive with what she's looking for from her partner.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be that she is uh, looking for something with the relationship, and maybe she's not getting it. So she pushes for more and more, which causes maybe her partner to feel inadequate in some way, which could result in some resentment, which would lead to the fighting. Um, I think I think it's maybe not what she's looking for in other people, but what she's maybe not finding in herself that she isn't looking towards.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, definitely all of that could be an element of this, because we're in Assumption Alley. We for sure don't know all the details. Um, maybe the way she's bringing things up also is, involved in this for sure. For sure. We absolutely have no idea about those elements of the story.
And
One thing,
I just want to
yeah,
say,
go
and
ahead.
to be fair, we
Mm,
as men are not as emotionally intelligent, so it is possible, of course, that she is more emotionally intelligent than the people that she's surrounded by, and it's just there isn't the pool of men available that she could actually thrive with. That's you said Assumption Alley, and I'm like, oh yeah, I am kind of I'm kind of just painting this picture like she's just this broken soul, and it's like I don't know enough to say that either. So yeah,
yeah,
that's a good point.
yeah, that's totally fair. She could totally be on the other end of the spectrum and be very emotionally intelligent. So when I hear this story, one of the things that I think of is, well, two main things jump out at me. So one, it doesn't seem like she knows what she's looking for clearly enough. It takes her a really long time to get back into the game. I think she said I finally decided to start dating after 3 years of not for about 2 years. So 2 years of not dating anyone. Um, or after 3 years, I'm a bit confused with what that sentence means. But anyways, it's either 2 or 3 years of not dating anyone. And, she's pointing to two situations that she's trying to notice a pattern in. And so I think, like, it's very easily that she's come across two of the same types of duds. And this is just like 2 points in a sample size. We don't have enough like data to be able to draw any patterns, but the patterns I know that she has control over, I don't have control over, obviously, the guys and what they do in these situations. But one thing I know that definitely can change her patterns in the future, and if she was asking for advice from me, is, to again, be very clear with what she's looking for in a partner, with all the things that are important to her, and at what timeline she wants to progress um, at different points. How long in do you go from talking to dating to being exclusive to being engaged to being married, and if you want to have kids, or like maybe that's not even something that you want. And so this is very specific to pair with timelines of things, just so you can get a rough idea of what you actually want, and you can be clear on that. And then from the beginning, you know much more easily what to address with the person. And if they're not on the same page, you can cut it off real quick, because that you're going to be arguing about this the whole time. So it's really helpful to know that, to address it up front as soon as possible, so then that hard part in the relationship is out of the way. So I hope that makes sense. That's the pattern that I'm seeing that she has control over, to kind of avoid it. So one of her questions was, I need advice on how to make sure the man I'm with is right for me. So right for me is dependent on knowing what is right for you. So I can't answer that question for her. Only she can answer it. I can definitely have things, a whole list of really great things she should think about and see if she has a strong opinion on or not. But she's the one that makes the decision of what is a right person for her. And then red flags would be, when she knows what she's looking for and what she's not looking for. Obviously there's varying degrees. If someone like chews gum loudly, like maybe you don't like that, but maybe it's not a deal breaker. And maybe if someone, I don't know, does something else, that's a deal breaker for you, and that's very clear for you. So red flags, when I'm trying to categorize things, like I have deal breakers, which are like the most serious things that you try and avoid if you see in a partner. Maybe you can make a compromise on one deal breaker, but usually deal breakers are deal breakers. Red flags, when I use the terminology, is the step before a deal breaker. So I'm not sure. Like maybe if I have a strong, thing where it's a deal breaker for me if someone smokes cigarettes, let's say. And if like we're walking past somewhere and they're like, oh, that smell of cigarette smoke is so good, that might be a red flag for me. And then I can use that to ask them about it and say, do you smoke? And then I can make a decision with how I feel about that. But ignoring the fact that they said, oh, that's a great smell, I'm kind of staying in the dark and avoiding the hard conversation I don't want to have, because I'm scared that I'm going to lose the partner that I'm hoping to have. And so we really have to push through the fear of losing the person to make sure we're with the right person. And so this is not a time to stick our head in the sand. It's the one where we have to go through the toughness and ask the hard questions, so then we can get to the other side and make sure we're with the right person as soon as possible. And it's very likely that it might be our worst fear where they're like, yeah, I actually love smoking or something like that. But maybe they're like, oh, I just got a whiff of some really nice freshly baked bread in that restaurant. And then you had no idea, like that's what they were saying smelled good. And you made a wrong assumption about a red flag by not addressing the actual thing that you think is the problem. So get so specific with what you're looking for and what's right for you in a partner, what timeline you want things at, whatever pace you feel comfortable. And then that will help you know where your deal breakers are, where your red flags are. And if you notice something that is a red flag or a deal breaker, you want to definitely make sure that you're not assuming it and you know that you correctly understood the situation, so you're not passing up on someone great just from a misunderstanding. So that's an important element in this. And then another big piece of advice I would give this girl is, please don't be out of the game for like 2 or 3 years. That's way too long. Like, you seem great. Like, obviously I don't know her, but if you're young and looking to be like with someone, you definitely can jump in. You don't have to wait so long. I see your hand, Polly. What's up?
Yeah, no, I just that factor as well, I think I kind of put into my assessment of like how
Mm.
long it takes her to actually recover from
Mm-hmm.
these situations makes me feel like I don't know, maybe she's the type of person that feels like a relationship is sort of the validation that she needs, like to feel loved. I'd be interested to know what her childhood was um, like how what her relationship was like with her parents. I think it can be really hard to recover from breakups, and I've had one that I'm still trying to recover from, but that was just
Mm-hmm.
one of them, right? Like that was the one.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a few other
Mm-hmm.
relationships, and for the most part, I didn't fall super fast for most people. So this is a very interesting scenario for me to think about because I'm like Armand more. I tend to take my time.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I hear if she didn't take so long to recover, it might not have the same effect on me as I think about it, where it's almost like she knows she's going to fall way too hard and she doesn't want to get hurt by it. And that makes me wonder, well, why does she fall so hard? There's some questions here
Mm-hmm.
I have that I'd love to know more to find out because it's really interesting. Um,
Yeah. I have a question for you. Is there anything, let's say she's done her due diligence, she knows what she wants, she knows the time. Let's assume. Is there anything wrong with falling in love quickly?
no, no, as long
Mm-hmm.
as she knows what she's looking for, she's found the
Mm-hmm.
guy that she truly believes is fits the bill of what she wants. Like
Mhm.
I don't think you can regulate how fast you fall in love, right?
Mhm.
But I do think I think oftentimes we can maybe confuse certain things for love.
Mhm.
We might feel like we might see the potential in someone that we think is there and love the potential
Mhm.
person that's there, or we can actually, because I think falling in love is actually, it happens when it's a mutual thing that's happening on a mutual symbiotic kind of a moment by moment scenario, right? Like as much as it is an internal thing, I think
Mhm.
real genuine love is an active two-way street. um Maybe that's a bit, I don't know, that's a bit of a romantic angle to it. But that's what I think love is about, romance, right? So
Mhm.
I don't know. I think as a society and as a world, we've kind of lost the vision of what love really is, and we see a lot of, divorce rates are skyrocketing and people are just
Yeah.
remaining single. Everyone's jaded. Everyone has trust
Mhm.
issues, and we all grew up in homes that, we had parents that had problems, and it's really easy. When my parents almost got divorced when I was young, I have,
Mm.
alcoholism in my family. Like, I was shaped by my childhood, as we all are. And growing
Mhm.
up is about unlearning those things that we learned and trying to, um, forge our own path. And I don't think a lot of people do that. I think, like, for you guys, you and Armand, it's a really interesting story. The fact that you are, in the field that you are, you have
Mhm.
this knowledge that you were able to bring into the relationship, right? So it was almost a tool that you were able to use to navigate things in a way that would, maybe help you understand and see things from Armand's point of view a little better, so you could work with him. uh, I don't think a lot of people are capable of doing that, so
That's a good point.
it's
Mhm.
I'm sure Armand, growing up before, before he met you, maybe he had some relationships that he pursued, and the partners that he was seeing, weren't as patient and weren't as knowledgeable and weren't as willing to work with him. And through the course of you doing that with him, he was able to see, what, this person isn't going to abandon me. This person doesn't have, ill intentions. This person doesn't want to hurt me. And you guys were able to overcome that period that he needed to really be able to trust you and move forward, in a way that you guys now, you have a great relationship. Obviously, we we have our bad days. We all do. It's
Yeah.
Allegedly.
we all,
Allegedly.
it's not perfect. We're human beings. We all have things we got to work out
Yeah.
together. But you guys are doing it, and it's a beautiful thing. This girl, maybe she needs to find her her partner that's willing to be patient with her, and I think she needs to learn to be a
Yeah.
little patient too.
I hear you. Thank you so much for that. Armand, did you want to speak on anything Paulie said?
Um, I guess not in particular. I mean, well, I can say some words. Yeah, I mean, the beginning of our relationship, I was probably one of those people who just kind of fell into things. Um, where, yeah, I would just like go around doing stuff, and then like, a girl would like me, and I didn't want to be like mean, so I'd be like, yeah, let's see what this is like. But really, if I'd done probably my due diligence or knew what I wanted and stuff like that, I, would have been able to save them and probably me a lot of pain. Um, so when Kimia and I were in a relationship together, uh, I don't know, the beginning she was like definitely, I felt like much more sure and serious than I was. As far as understanding goes, um, I don't know. I feel like Kimia is one of those people who, people talk about like thinking outside the box. Kimia doesn't think outside the box because she doesn't have knowledge of there being a box. She's so far away from the box that she just sees empty skies.
I'm like, where's the limit? I don't like, what is your barrier? I don't know. But obviously, I understand a lot of like human norms and stuff like that. But it's just the possibilities of things. Yeah, I don't know. I get what you're saying, Armand. I just said that to say I get it. Was there anything more you wanted to say to that? I don't know if you're speaking. You've cut out for me. Okay. I can't hear
Am I
anything.
back?
Oh, you're back. You're back. Yep.
Yeah, my phone is being dumb.
Okay.
I may have to reinstall XF or something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but what was I saying? Oh yeah. So like within 3 or 4 days of meeting with me, Kimia like canceled her flight so she could see me for another, 24 or 36 hours or something. Which was really cool. I'm glad we got to spend, more time together. But I don't know very many people who would, cancel slash delay their flight, tell their work they're sick, pay an extra $400 so they can see someone they met for 3 days for an extra day. So stuff like that, at least for me, it took a while to understand. And I think in the reverse, when I wouldn't do things like that, I think, you know, there was some confusion or disconnect there. Like, why didn't you do that? And it was like, I didn't even know it was in the realm of the possibility. I was so far inside of the box. Uh,
That's
so
Yeah,
I feel,
I'll say as a man to see a woman do that, that is, I don't know if you could feel something better than to see as a man in this world for a woman to do that for you. Like that says so much. I would have been like, holy shit.
I appreciate that, Polly. I appreciate it.
yeah, from my end, at the time, I was just really scared. I was like, oh my gosh, like this person is like, you know, I don't know. Like I felt like she, at the time, I didn't get it. So I felt like she wasn't doing what's best for her. I was like, oh my gosh, she's like spending all this money, spending this day with me. Like she's only even just met me. Like, I don't want to like let her down. Like da 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 da. So, but there you go. Um,
Yeah, it was actually really cute, you guys. Like when I spent that extra day with him, and we went to we walked up this volcano thing, and then we came back down, and then there was like a cruise I had to get on to get back to my flight, and it was just like this dramatic, like crying goodbye. But he gave me he gave me his hoodie, and I remember that meant so much to me. And he gave me an envelope, and he said, "Don't open it till you're on the plane." And like I opened it when I was on the plane, and I think it was like $176 USD or something, and it was 400 Australian that I spent on the flight. And in the note, it said something like, um, this is all the money I have left. I wanted to give it to you to help compensate your flight, and please spend it on yourself and don't just like save it for sentimental reasons or something, like just hoard the money. But I ended up buying some gold with that, so I actually hold that jewelry with the memory of um, what he did, which was very kind. That he literally gave me all the money he had on that trip. Um, to say thank you for me staying that extra day. And so I honestly couldn't have done that on my end unless I knew how great he was. If I could only know that, knowing what I wanted and having done the due diligence at the beginning, if that makes sense. Armin, I saw you unmute. Were you going to say something?
no, I just never muted.
Okay. Oh, good. I saw Polly, you unmuted.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I feel like I'm watching a movie in my head, like a romantic comedy scene. This is beautiful. Like
A
not
moment
oh
like
yeah. It's like
this.
it's the romantic comedy, but there's no comedy in the scene. It's just pure like the sweet moment where it's like, oh yeah, this is what I came for. That's beautiful, dude.
I appreciate you. Armand really likes comedy, so he would definitely want the comedy in the movie too.
There needs to be comedy in the romance. I'd have trouble just watching romance movies.
Oh yeah, I mean,
But this
if you're gonna have a healthy relationship, you need to at least be able to fart around each other and laugh about it, right? You gotta have your moments of levity where you guys are just being weird. Like when you can start being
yeah.
weird with someone, that's when you're comfortable, and that's when the real connecting happens. That's what I was talking about with the whole that love, falling in love is like a mutual active thing, like you're
Mm,
doing things, you're learning things together, like you're experiencing that change, and it's becoming this thing you feel, right? Like the fireworks they talk about, like it's when two people are finding something together, and it's changing them on the inside for the better. We look to each other to find things in ourselves that we can't find on our own. And if you're not
mhm,
careful and you just try to do it on your own, you end up using people for validation and trying to fill voids. But if you do it together and
mhm.
you both find those things together, that's when real things happen, I think.
I agree. And I think this other point that you touched on, like the both of the times that you spoke, was that people have different definitions of what love can be and like highlighting what that is for each person. For you highlighted love for you means when two people mutually feel the same way and, there's this amazing thing happening between you guys. And so, maybe if one side loves the other person and the other person doesn't love them back, like maybe some people would consider that love, or some would say that's unrequited love. Or so we're also in Assumption Alley with the word love. So please notice that with, almost every word we use, we actually don't know what the other person views as a definition of that, because we all perceive words differently, even though there's a uniform dictionary version of what that means. So always ask, don't assume you know what the other person means when they say they're falling in love too quickly, or what they mean by love, or what comes with that, because it's very likely you'll have different definitions on it. Another thing that I think these stories like reminded me of is, you might think on my end, like, definitely, I think what Paulie said, like, I definitely had a lot of skills that could help in the situation when there was a difference between Armand and I and how quickly we fell in love. But one element that, wasn't so much in my favor is that even when I would share some of the things that are helpful, it would be very easy for Armand to say, you're just saying that because you're biased, because you're in the relationship. So it was also very hard for me to convince him that what I'm telling him, like, is good information, is actually like me being objective and not biased. So it took a long time, but we're here now. And Wally, I see your hand.
Yeah, no, I know that people, if they have trust issues, or they are afraid of rejection or loss or whatever, like, we will tend to test other people, right? And
Mm-hmm.
we will test that person. And some people, like my girl, she had severe trust issues. She had real bad home life growing up. Her father was a really bad person, and because of it, she did not believe the good intentions that were had by others around her. She just couldn't believe it. So she, like, I would just put a flower, like bring a flower to her, like,
Oh.
randomly, and
Mm-hmm.
she'd almost act like, what did you do wrong? Like, what are you trying to, like,
Mm.
apologize for? Like, this weird, like, assumption, like, oh man, they're being nice to me, something must be wrong. I
Yeah.
and and as the person that wanted to care for her and be there for her and do nice things, when you see that's not received in the way that you intended it, it's really disheartening, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're all different. There's different levels to this. Some people trust harder than others. So we can't just assume that everyone is doing things the same way. But I learned that some people are really stubborn with this stuff. Like, you can have the best intentions, but if your intentions only go as far as the people around you are willing to see the intention, if they believe your intentions are something else, then what you mean doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Not, at least not to them. So sometimes we have to really stick with something, and being emotionally intelligent and navigating those things with someone, it can be really hard, really hard.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. It can definitely relate to this person's history of, you just doing something nice and it being perceived as like, oh no, what have you got to hide? And that being not an immediate positive thing for the other person, which can be so confusing. And unless they're open to realizing a flower can just mean a flower, you know, it's it's hard for the other person. So growth is so important, and I definitely really harp on that being such an important trait. Like, when I'm matching people, as part of love story, preferences are at the very first step, attraction. So I make sure both people are attracted to each other. As a general rule of thumb, I want someone to be 8 out of 10 attracted to the person, or close to. Maybe like a 6 or a 7 can work their way up to an 8 with personality and things like that. So like either an 8 or above, or close. So that's step one, people are attracted. Then step two is to make sure that, all of the things that they're looking for, mostly in their partner, not any crazy deal breakers, or if there's like one deal breaker, like they can decide if that's okay or not. That preferences also includes people's timelines of, how quickly they want to progress at different stages in the relationship. And then this stuff, just so you guys know, this stuff can be done within minutes. Like, it's happened where I've matched people within minutes. I'm talking to them on the phone, they're going through their preferences. I already have someone in mind that comes to mind. And, I show them a picture. I'm like, are you attracted? I send the picture to the other person. They're attracted. I send them each other's information. And then within like 5 minutes, something like this can happen where you're like, wow, okay, there's another human being now who I'm attracted to, who has all these qualities I'm looking for. And then so from there, and with the timeline that, is acceptable to me. And then so from there, what do you do after the first 5 minutes? So after those 5 minutes, it's important to make sure someone's words match their actions. At this point, all of the preferences they put down, or if you have this conversation directly with your partner, it's still words. You don't have proof in their behavior to make sure they actually do what they're saying they're doing, and there's not cognitive dissonance where they're saying something and doing something else. So then one element of it is making sure that their words match their actions. The other thing that so there's two things I pretty much tell people to focus on after the first 5 minutes that someone can match up with someone. It's you need to make sure that the words match their actions and that you see growth. So I want you guys all to realize, like, we all make mistakes in relationships, and we make them a lot. That's just because we're human. So what we need to realize is when we make mistakes, can we own up to them? Can we correct them and hear what the other person wants to make the situation better and actually do it and not get defensive? Because most people's human reaction to when they do something wrong and get called out on is get defensive, say, I don't like this about you. You shouldn't even feel that way. That's the natural reaction people have, and that's why most relationships can easily fall into turmoil, because of that thing alone. So having the growth orientation of wanting to improve where you're at yourself and realizing that that's very normal in a relationship is super important to make sure you include that in what you're looking for in a partner, and making sure that's there before you commit to them for the rest of your life, because we are all needing to grow to be able to be good loving partners to the other person. So I love that. I think you said something that triggered this growth conversation, so I appreciate it, Polly. One last question, Reddit question I have for today. This one, the language is a little coarse language, but I will not say those words. But okay, so the title on this one is Dear Reddit, how soon is too soon to fall in love? To say I love you, am I crazy for feeling this? And it gives a bit of background here. It says, my situation, I could really use some advice here. Background. Yeah, Armand, can you turn your voice off? We are hearing the sound.
Sorry.
Oh, good, oh, good. Thanks, babes. Okay, so background. So it's a 21-year-old female. So good girl, no doubt about it, but with a wild streak, but not anything more than a typical college girl, I think. Not two sort of trashy girls gone wild extent or anything. One former long-term relationship who was abusive, and a handful of one-night stands with a-hole type guys, and that effed her up and bolted. So he's saying that's her history. And then he's saying his history. He's a 30-year-old male. So she was a 21-year-old female. He's 30-year-old male. He says a tattooed for the former bad mother effer type with a lengthy, mischievous, and mildly criminal history. I tend to be a serial monogamist, having spent most of my dating life in relationships of over a year. We have an amazing connection, amazing sex, amazing everything. Just being around her, watching a movie, and holding her hand feels as good as sex in my mind. We went out instead, interested in each other. We didn't become involved until a week ago. Since then, SHIT has exploded. I know I am in love with her. I think I love her. Am I a moron for thinking this way? Will it scare her off if I tell her? Is it even possible that this sort of thing is happening, or is it just infatuation? A few other related questions. Number one, have any of you ever had a relationship that started out with this kind of extraordinary, crippling passion, but was able to evolve into a legitimate long-term thing? And question two, we have been essentially going on dates for months now, and it didn't turn into anything until recently. Is it strange that I feel this way about the girl? Does this mean that I'm effed up or something? Truthfully, I know I'm in love with her, and I think I love her. Is it reckless for me to tell her? If she doesn't feel the same way, it will hurt me a lot more than my ego at this point. All right. I thought this one was a little bit of a funny one, so I left it for the last one. I want to ask Omid, are you willing to come up for this one? If you are not too busy. I don't know what you got going on over there. Let me request it if you're willing to bring it up.
I wouldn't be surprised if she's asking the same questions.
Yeah.
I think this is a pretty clear-cut case of he should. I think this is an interesting question, because does he necessarily have to say he loves her, or is there another way to? I mean, oh man, this is one of those ones where I hate having the guy brain, because we're so clueless with this stuff. I swear. Omid might
You gotta
have a
give
good
yourself
answer.
more credit, Polly. You gotta give yourself more credit.
Omid might have a good answer here.
Omid, I saw you came up. What do you think?
I've been through this. I've dealt with this. But I think the answer to this is he should just be honest and just tell her how he feels, and then accept the consequences, whether they be good or bad, of the action.
Love it. Love it. Go Omid. Yes. Yes. So there's a pattern with all of these questions that I hope you guys are all picking up with all of these Reddit questions. Just say it as it is. If you're feeling something, say it. Because, if you don't say it, you're avoiding the hard question and you don't know how they feel. And we're in Assumption Alley and we're probably going to be passive aggressive this whole time because this thing isn't important to us. They've got no idea what's going on. And we will only find out our answer to our question until we ask them. So great response to that one. I appreciate you, Omid. That was great. That was great. Let's see if you answered all of his questions. You gave a very concise answer. Okay, yeah, okay. I want to ask you his first question. So is it possible that someone can have an extraordinary passion and relationship and have it evolve into a legitimate long-term thing? What do you think? Omid, what do you think? I don't know if you can hear me. If something's come up, that's okay.
What's up?
What do you think? So the part of the question is, do you think it's possible that someone can have an extraordinary, amazing, crippling passion relationship at the beginning and have it evolve into a legitimate long-term thing?
I do think it's possible, but it has to be shared by both parties, not just one.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Also, like, feel free to anyone can ask me questions.
Anyone is welcome to ask Omid any questions. He's also an answerer on this call.
Like, I told Polly to come up with a question like 2 weeks ago.
Paulie, do you have any questions you've thought of for Omid?
Man, I got ADHD, dude. We've been over this. I forgot about that like 5 minutes after you asked it. Damn it.
It's too funny.
Omid, I got a question for you. How was your day?
Oh,
My day was amazing and filled with trials and tribulation.
well, it seems like there's a lot going on in your day, but I hope you're going well.
That was cryptic. That was cryptic and
I
coded.
know, it was so cryptic.
Amazing. A lot happened.
See, I'm only giving you the answers to the questions that you want. If you want a more specific answer, then you have to specify your questions better.
There you go. There you go. I wanted to wrap up for today with a story of some people I know, and it relates to this last question of can something, that starts off amazing, continue and be a long-term thing. And so this is a story of one of the parents I know, who I really love this story. It was, these two people were older in their life and they still hadn't found their partner yet, and they were just walking and they bump into each other on the corner of a street. And I love this story because you can bump into someone on the corner of a street on the turn and think nothing of it and do nothing to it and miss an opportunity just as easily. And so they bumped into each other on the corner of the street, and they were both trying to hail a taxi. And the guy hailed the taxi, or the girl did, I can't remember. And the girl, no, I think the guy hailed the taxi and the girl came back and said, can I join you in the taxi? Can we share a taxi or something like that? And he was like, sure, where are you going? And she said, so, oh my gosh, I'm butchering this story. I could tell this story so much better in the past. I'm so sorry. I'm like forgetting some of the details, but it was like the smoothest line ever, where it was like, I think he was like, where are you going? She was like, wait, I gotta figure out who said it. I'm so sorry. One person was saying something, and then the other person was like, I'm going wherever you're going. And then so that was just like the cutest response ever. And that was the beginning of them getting to know each other. And so they really had to, take a completely normal moment, like, no, so they first of all, like, if we unpack it, they first of all decided that they're both attracted to each other. That was a very quick decision they were able to make. And then, they went for it and they were like, hey, like, I want to get to know this guy more or this girl more. And then so, they put in actions to make that happen. And then from there, they got to know each other in a lot of detail, like very quickly. They got to meet each other's parents very quickly. And then they got married within 2 weeks. And that was about 30 years ago. So sometimes, um, amazing, like, initial moments can turn into amazing love stories that work out in the long run. So I tell you guys that story so you guys can still have this hope for that amazing love story that can happen. And even if it doesn't start out that same way, you can still turn into that in the long run. And if you're not in a relationship yet, please don't settle. Please realize that amazing love does exist and you definitely deserve it. We just have to get it together. And so that's what we're here for every week, to get us closer and closer to that and have a community of people behind you, all supporting each other with the same goal and mission to have incredible love in this world that we can just thrive and be happy. So that's the goal. That's the goal. Thanks so much for coming, everyone. Is there any final words before we announce the most valuable floor player for today?
Fantastic space as always. Love the input, love the questions, love the conversation.
I appreciate you, Polly, and perfect timing, because this week I feel like you were the mad Chad of the talk space, and so you are this week's MVFP, the most valuable floor member for the day. So thank you so much for coming. We appreciate you. We all learned so much together. And again, thank you to Armand coming. Thank you to my brothers coming, and everyone else who made time to come today. That was amazing. And I'll talk to you guys all next week. Have an amazing rest of the week, everyone. And I wish you all the love lives of your dreams. Bye.